Hello, everybody, and welcome to NinjaChris Silly History. This month, we're going to cover the topic of aviation. So, we'll find out how this live stream goes. Ready to fly, are we? Going up into the sky all the way back when? Going back a long time ago when things first started to fly. You'll be surprised to hear that we're going to go into more mythical times because that's where the idea of flight came about. And it came about because of Icarus, the son of Daedalus, the inventor god in the Greek myths. Greek, Persian myths as well. See, all these mythical gods, and apparently Daedalus built a flying contraption, and it went on to Icarus, who we know flew close to the sun. He kept rising higher and higher and higher, then got his wings burned off for whatever he had built and put on him. It's probably like bird's wings or something like that. Either way, they're called myths for a reason. But the thing is, it kind of got people thinking because myths can kind of become real or partly real because obviously nowadays we have flying aeroplanes and stuff like that and everything. So it all kind of starts from Greek mythology, and there's some in Persian mythology as well. I didn't fully go into that one, and plus, yeah, there's more fun out of the Greek mythology anyway. There's so much that happened in the Greek mythology and stuff, and it's wow, there's so much. But that all led to things in a bit of future, because you'd be surprised that quite a lot of thought came into it from China, because a lot of Chinese builts and stuff, and they created something called a wooden bird, which is kind of like a modern day kite. It's the equivalent. It was, you put it up and well, it flew away with the air. It was one of these lighter than air things, so if you let it go, it just floats on its own. Kind of like how you've got with the Goodyear blimp and stuff. It'll happily float in the middle of the air. It will just keep floating up and stuff like that. So that's what it means when most of the things back then were lighter than air. So they did have something called a bamboo copter, which I thought was fairly interesting, where it kind of flew around, but had kind of like a helicopter system, like a rotor wing system. I'm not saying I don't think anybody was flying in it, or because it wasn't actually a helicopter. It just had that helicopter style propeller, I guess you could say. But this was all happening back then in the world China. For some reason, the Chinese like to get something up in the sky. Don't know what it was with China and building stuff. I mean, yeah, a lot of things you find seem to have started off in China. Anything that requires creation and stuff, they've always been quite good and creative with all that, and that's really good for them to get doing that. Because it's all been passed through history. We also have something that we still sort of use today. It's more ceremonial and stuff that people do it. We have the sky lantern. It's that one where you kind of light it and inside it glows and it floats up into the sky. It looks really cool when you see it in movies and stuff. But apparently it was because of a guy called Zug Lianga, whatever his name is. He was from 181 to 234 AD. It was back around that time. It was to warn enemies, sending up a lantern so your enemies could see. And I guess that meant that they'll rush you and then they'll just have a fight, and well, somebody will win and somebody will lose. I guess the Chinese were good at fighting as well. They were very, very good at fighting. Could have just been a religious battle or something like that, but either way, it was that sort of thing, just to fly it up there and warn your enemies. So anything that really floats or can be propelled itself, it counts as flying. Although we're not in that time where we're really propelling ourselves, we're just letting gravity or the lack of gravity take over at this point in time. We also then we move into a more modern Middle Ages, the High Middle Ages, where they had kind of an inspiration for the ornithopter that didn't exist, but when Da Vinci looked at the ornithopter, he created that. But the ornithopter is basically things that flap. So if you see something that flaps, and this guy called Aylmer of Malmesbury decided he wants to see if he can fly like a bird. So he got to the top of a roof and decided to jump off it while doing that. As you'd understand, it didn't go too well for him. I was surprised to find that he only broke his legs. Though I would have honestly thought that he probably would have broke a few more things as well. I mean, jumping off the roof of a building, who does that? But I suppose back then, if you wanted to fly, you see birds doing all this, and you think, I'm a being, I could give that a try. Some of them, I bet, found out the hard way. Some of them probably weren't alive to live the tale, and they weren't so lucky. And I don't know, after breaking your legs, as he may well have died, because there wasn't as much in the way of medicine back then. It was kind of a chop it off situation. If they broke in your leg, now that's gone. Now you'll be flying away with the fairies at that point if you're done with that. It's pretty much what they did back then. They just chopped it off. It's no good for them anymore. I don't know. But either way, he tried jumping off a building and well, didn't go too well. But obviously with Leonardo da Vinci, never realised he was so up for his... I always thought he was more just for the artist, but he was a really, really good inventor as well. And he got involved in quite a lot of the equipment that we probably use, because he invented the parachute as such. Not the one that opens on a backpack, but it was a similar sort. It was a very early situation. It was more like the equivalent of getting a bed sheet and just using that to fly by. It wasn't a bed sheet though. I think he put it together properly, and it did hang off them, and it did get them to go down a bit lower. Obviously, it took a few goes because a few people obviously got injured because they wanted to make sure that it could take the weight of a human being or some sort of object. I think it took them a while before they started trying human beings, because they did it with like heavier objects and see if it will make it slow down. And a few of those smashed, but they weren't humans, so you weren't too bothered about breaking them. But when they did get onto the human beings, I'm sure a few of those got a bit injured as well. I won't want to be one of those, but Leonardo definitely got involved in building that stuff. Leonardo also got involved in something called an aerial screw, which you may have seen before, where people, them ones where you sit back in them and you pedal with your feet and the thing spins above it. You kind of float in the air on it. I think before people, it went by itself, but when you put people in, it was like flying on a bike. It looked quite relaxed, but truly there was a lot more effort you had to put into it, because obviously you had to push it really fast to try and keep it going up. So that was kind of your modern helicopter type thing. I'm not sure they went very far because they're probably knackered if they've got to pedal their way through it. So, yeah, that's an interesting thing to imagine seeing somebody trying to use that. It looked cool though because it's all swirly. It keeps going down like a little screw thing. Well, it's called an aerial screw for a reason, but it's that kind of helicopter situation. So sort of invented the hand glider as well, thing that just went like that you could fly with. So it was kind of a interesting start for the hang glider, so you can float along in the air, so you can like glide through the air. Obviously, it wasn't as high tech and thought through as it is nowadays, but it was one of his inventions. He started the ball rolling essentially. He also invented something called the Great Kite, which again is like just a regular kite, just with a few extra bits added to it. So you see it flying into the air. You let it go, and it floats into the air. But good old Leonardo da Vinci was such a great inventor. He was such a great at a lot of things, but I didn't realize he did the inventing of a lot of flying stuff that flies. So he was quite a big guy when it came to flying. It seemed these things you find out as you learn, as you go along, as you read up history. So those are these fascinating things that you find. But most people, when they hear Leonardo da Vinci, they think all these fancy paintings like the Mona Lisa and stuff like that. I think that was his. Don't get me. I'm not really on for the art critic thing. I was only doing this for the helicopters and flight vehicles. Actually, we didn't even have what we call now as a helicopter or an aeroplane. It just resembled them. I don't know whether people actually got on them around that time. There may have been a few daredevils back then, but what you gonna do? Well, what they gonna do besides crash to the ground? Because there was we didn't know if it was gonna work. Maybe they survived, maybe they didn't. Quite a few of them probably didn't survive, those daredevils. But you never know what's going on. I was talking about that ornithopter thing. There was a guy called John Damien who in 1507 decided he was going to try and fly over Stirling Castle. He was a Scottish guy. He decided to strap chicken wings, chicken feathers on his wings, and thought, I'm just going to jump over the castle. I don't think he died, but I'm not sure whether that quite worked. But it doesn't sound very appealing idea to me. But some people might do it. All these things that they wanted to do at that time, just trying to see if they could fly, see if they could fly over things. They wanted to go, but this was all before the advanced technology that we got, because we started getting into the balloons and stuff at that point. We started finding ways of creating balloons and obviously go up into the air, because well, that's a bit of aviation as well when you hold a balloon up. I mean, you gotta look also with the kite situation and look at Benjamin Franklin holding that up, and if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have got struck by lightning. Well, the kite he put up anyway wouldn't have gotten struck by lightning. But Benjamin Franklin was quite a popular figure back then, so his kite is quite memorable. Wasn't for him, he wouldn't have found out thunder and lightning. Probably a lot of people don't quite like thunder and lightning, but it is what it is. But overall, it led to creating balloons, as in putting air in them and seeing if they can make them lift off the ground. And in 1783 was where we really started getting these big balloons full of air. And the first brothers were the Montgolfier brothers. They managed to fill the balloon with air and managed to get it to lift off the ground for about 10 seconds or something like that. But they managed to get it to lift off the ground. But then later on in 1783, there's a lot that happened in 1783. So in that 1783, the Robert brothers, they decided that hydrogen, they made the first hydrogen balloon, which made it fly a little bit higher, obviously, in it. Well, they were trying to get it to flow a bit longer and looking at how much distance you could get with it. And eventually it all worked out nicely. And obviously, these hot air balloons, the ballooning, obviously led into all these other ships because the first airship was in 1852, which was made by a guy also in France called Henri Giffard. He he made sure we had the first sort of airship that kind of looked like what a Zeppelin is. So he kind of helped with that idea, filling the balloon. But back then they were a bit less able to stick together. But they did move a bit of distance. But it wasn't until like 1874 when the idea for a Zeppelin came about. But it didn't really get into full action until like 1899. But it was all down to Ferdinand von Zeppelin, who came up with the idea and then, well, got it working. That all, and then the Zeppelin came into quite heavy work during World War Two, unfortunately. But they had to use something. It was their equivalent of fighter pilots and stuff because we didn't have the fixed wing crafts like we did in World War Two with the Luftwaffe and like that, where they had proper aeroplanes and stuff. Granted, the Zeppelins didn't exactly move too fast, but they didn't really help us during World War One because, from the looks of it, they spent most of the time using the Zeppelins to try and bomb England. But then they went up and down England. They're just dropping their bombs, dropping their Zeppelin bombs and everything, trying to blow us up. But that's pretty much what was happening during World War Two. And the thing with the Zeppelin, it kind of died out before World War Two, because in 1937 was when one of them set on fire. And I think this was just a tourist one where they had people just as guests on there. And apparently it's set on fire at the Hindenburg. I'm not sure if it was named the Hindenburg or it was because of the fire of the Hindenburg disaster. But there was a lot of fires back then because we're in that time where we had Nazi Germany and the Zeppelins kind of had the Nazi swastika symbol on it. So, but after a while, when they started getting into wartime zone, yeah, they didn't really want the Zeppelin because they'd now officially made heavier than air flight, which is basically our modern aircraft that we have, that if we didn't put some power into it, it would just go kaplunk. Nope, that's not flying anywhere. It would just fall onto the ground. So we had our first modern aircraft design was done by Sir George Cayley. He made a glider in 1846. So there's a bit of a crossover with what was happening, but this modern aircraft wasn't exactly super powered or out like that. It was just a simple glider thing. You just got on, but it was the design. Sir George Cayley was down as the father of aircraft because he was the first one to make the actual design of the aircraft. then we had steam ones as well, which was in 1842. So yeah, 10 years before that. But we had William Samuel Henson and John Stringfellow, who created a monoplane situation. So that was basically just one person, I believe, and it flew with a bit of steam power. It got flying, which was a good thing, obviously. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna have a little drink. I realise I've been talking quite a lot. I need to say hello to my crew as well. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, Anna and Terry. Thanks for the topic. Terry. It's a good one, guys. Sorry to hear about your grandfather and everything about the plane, but I suppose they were doing it for good, whatever you could find good out of the World Wars anyway. Hey, Mowley. How you doing? You doing good? Everybody's doing good. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, fires aren't exactly a great thing. Jeannie, hello. Been a while since I've seen you around here. It's good to see you. Oh, Daniel, that's great to see you here. I'm glad you're here. That's good to see you. I wasn't sure if you were gonna show up, but it's always good to have you here. I'll just send you the link and I'll see you coming. But it's good to have you. You can meet all my friends here. Play along with everybody. I think I've said hello to everybody. Everybody's welcome here. But yeah, so we've done steam engines. That must be interesting having steam inside your vehicle, especially if they were using, well, it wouldn't have been hydrogen, would it? But it was steam powered. It's hard to believe because when you hear steam powered, you start thinking of trains at that point. It's like you just chug along plane sort of thing. But I guess it's what they had inside the thing to push it along. It's fine by me. If it worked for a little while, I can't say it was I can't imagine it being too fast and too practical. But once we'd got through all that and everything, we started heading into the pioneers of aviation and looking at the first actual aeroplane was made by the Wright brothers. Officially, they flew the first actual aeroplane. It was them who invented the aeroplane and started setting it off. And that was all the way back in 1903. So Wilbur Wright and Orville Wright both got the plane off the ground and had it flying. So if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have had the fixed wing crafts and stuff. Granted, the Wright Flyer 1, 2, and 3, they weren't exactly brilliant. They kept breaking. They didn't go up as much. Then they started building, and then they got into like the 1910s where they started building it for military purposes. So it was like the Wright Flyer A or something like that. There's so many letters and numbers after these names of planes. I can't remember which is which. Like, well, to me, they just look like a plane. I mean, the fixed wing crafts are the ones that stay where they are. It requires a propeller, so, but it keeps it in place when you've got the wings. It basically, when the propeller, it's good for drag and stuff to give you speed. The propeller does all the work, getting it to move forward and stuff like that. You had your little joystick and everything, trying to pull up. But it wasn't as big during World War One, but during World War Two was when all the when we all went fixed wing crafts, and thanks to Hermann Göring with his Luftwaffe. But I can't say too much because we got the RAF as well involved, but we had to defend ourselves because the Germans were very, very insistent. And then we had the American Air Force as well, whatever. I think that they had to get involved with theirs as well, so we kind of overwhelmed the Germans after all that. And I'm not sure how well adverse the Russians were, but I think they may have had their own planes as well. So we completely crushed the Germans because, well, the Germans, they bit off more they can chew. They were right in the center of Europe, and they didn't want a two-front assault, but you've got planes coming from America, Britain, and then coming from Russia as well. It's all coming down on you, mate. You've dug yourself into a hole here. And with how good the Americans were at building, we were glad to have them as allies, really, because I think they were already ahead of the game before them, but wow. They did a lot of good stuff to keep us at the war. Oh, hi, Cecilia. It's good to have you here as well. It's good to have everyone. Noisy jets. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, we have jet engines and everything, don't we? Yeah, well, I think I was going to get onto because they did start using jet engines and stuff in planes from 1910. They was using them. I don't think they were fully working though, which is the problem. But we're using jet engines all the time now because after World War II, we started getting a bit more commercial. We started focusing on the commercial stuff. So we had something like a Haring thing, and then it all focused around getting the Boeing 707, whichever number it is. But Boeing became such a big company, still is a big company, but they've got so many more numbers going on here. I don't understand the numbers, but as long as they get you from location to location, all good by me. I've never actually flown an aeroplane, but I've heard what people say, and I don't really want jet lag. I don't know what it feels like, and I'm not sure I want to know exactly what it feels like, but I've heard it's really terrible feelings and everything. Could be. Oh, Jana. Hello. Good to have you here now as well. Trying to get into the heliphone? Well, no, there is the helicopter, I was trying to say now. But yeah, apparently they was first actually put in 1936. But again, it was thought about, but I don't think it was fully operational until like the 1960s and stuff like that. Was when it actually became a proper thing. I think it was probably around the time for the aeroplanes and stuff, so kind of like rescue maybe. But we've also got seaplanes, which they tried to bring out in 1901 by Wilhelm Kress, but apparently that completely failed. So, oops. But they're trying to get everything to try and get on the seaplanes. They tried it in 1910 again with Henri Fabre, and then in 1912 we actually had the first seaplane carrier. So I believe that's a boat, and it throws out the seaplane, which can obviously fly, but it can also glide across the water, which I thought was pretty cool. It's pretty good if you want to try and go across the water, because sometimes an aerial battle isn't always a great idea, because especially when one's coming that way and we're going that way. You don't really want a full-on dogfight, but unfortunately, during the World Wars and everything, that was pretty much what was happening. The first actual military aviation actually happened during the Italo-Turkish War from 1911 to 1912. The Italians, I believe, won that one. Sorry, Jana. You had to come in when I was telling you that Turkey lost. But it was between Italy and the Italo-Turkish War. And that was when they first started using aviation. I believe that they were the first to try and use the Zeppelin type airship situation. So they weren't exactly going too fast with it. It was mostly just when they had Zeppelins and stuff like that, it was mostly just like a transport or reconnaissance. Wasn't really there to do full-on attack. It's meant to fly over and just see what they've got to deal with. It's one of those things that they did during wartime. Just have a sneak over, see what's going on. What's going on down there? Oh, you're preparing that, are you? Right, we better get back home and try and get something even better. Let's see what we're doing here. It's good to have you guys here. Whew. I seem to be burning myself out. I'm just glad. I'm alright, Jenna. I feel like I've been karate chopping the air as well. Wow. Talking about aviation, we're already at half hour. Time's flown by, literally. You know, I'm surprised I haven't seen many plane puns lately. I thought I was going to get loads of them. But it's great to have you guys here anyway. I love chatting with you guys at least once a month anyway, but I'm so happy to see you. Second joke, according to all the laws of aviation, it should be impossible for a bee to fly. This is because no bee has filed a permit with the FAA. Sorry. I didn't get your other joke. Sorry, I must have missed one there. Sorry if I missed your first joke. Please post it again, and I'll try and remember to read it this time. But you got more coming. Okay. Oh, you got a whole list coming. Okay, I look forward to it. Oh, Cecilia, have you been doing it? It's been a little while since, because you keep coming in each time. First joke of the chat. A lot of people are into flight and aviation. That's cool and all, but I find the whole thing rather Boeing. Very good, very good. I got yeah. Oh, it's going. Well, there is a lot of Boeing aeroplanes, and I believe that is an American company, isn't it? So yeah, pretty good, Cecilia. You've been out and about. How am I? Oh yeah, how am I? I'm fine, thank you. Sorry, I was eating for myself. Oh dear me. I'm just reading the message down. Oh, silly me. What's the difference between a jet engine and a flight attendant? At the end of the flight, the jet engine stops whining. Oh, Lord of Lords. Oh, man, you've got them. Oh, you've got a whole list. I had to be aware of that. I had to open my mouth, didn't I? This is not as bad as all those bike jokes anyway that we had to deal with. though Mark was around at that point, so we'll deal with that one. It's great to see you all coming in, and I'm glad that we can all have a great time together. And I believe that gone through all that history will pause for now. I'm sorry about the fact that I had to, because of my Christian friends here, I had to refer to Greek gods and everything earlier with Daedalus and Icarus with the flying close to the sun situation. But again, I find Greek mythology quite cool as well. It's always good. It's good to kind of broaden your horizon as well. See what's going on in the before, where it all started. I mean, we had to get the idea somewhere, and it was the Chinese that got hold of it and everything, and they kind of decided to make some kites and some little copters, little bamboo copters and stuff like that. But I love the sky lantern. They look so cool. I'd love to light one of those. You just light it and then it goes up. Looks really cool. Though I don't want to do is I don't want to try and jump off a building with trying to do feathers. That's one thing I definitely don't plan on doing, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody else either. Don't jump off a building pretending you want to be like a bird. But back then, nobody really knew how flying worked. So they watch a bird fly, they assume that we could do the same thing. It's quite humorous when we look back at it now, but at the time they were probably being serious. But science wasn't very sophisticated back then. It was more when we had like Isaac Newton with his 3 laws of motion. They used that a lot for the aeroplanes to talk about it moving along at a steady pace. And then the second one was how much mass that you've got. You'd have to put more force into it. And the third one is pushing energy or something. Sorry, my Newton science isn't exactly up to scratch, but he definitely did a lot about gravity, and I'm sure. And we're doing it right now. We're pushing against stuff and everything. We're changing the dynamics of stuff. I think the reason why I came up with that was because I had to check that out, was because how we moved on the bikes a couple of months ago, because I was talking about how bikes moved. Because, for example, when you go up a hill, you have to ride harder because you're going up a hill. So essentially, they have to use that because they have to go upwards. So they need to push through the air more, because at the end of the day, you have to basically punch a hole in the air using the aeroplanes, and that's what they do. And yeah, we've got the jet engine and everything, but that's what makes our planes even faster, because, well, jets seem to go supersonic. We also, nowadays, we also have rocket ships that can actually take you out of this world. And actually, we've got satellites up outside space now, and that's incredible what they can do up there now. We've got satellites orbiting the Earth. We've got all the planets as well that we're trying to get to, because we're using all these, because we've got all our rockets and stuff, because was it 1969 when you all went up to the moon and checked that out? You checked it out like you just went there just for a joyride. Nah, he just wanted to plant the American flag on there, and I say congratulations to you for doing that. And maybe you've had more people going over there now, and obviously rocket ships are getting more advanced, so they're trying to send more up there so they can see what's going on up there, see what the astrology and what goes on up there. It's amazing what they can do. Okay. Whew. Oh, we're joking again, are we? Talk about a hard landing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong to referring to Greek. It's all Greek to you, is it? Yeah. But yeah, Greek mythology, it's good to hear about because it makes you curious. It gives you a little bit of fantasy, essentially. But I suppose even if you are Christian, you're all right with talking about it. Those have been told off of by some of the really hardcore of the Christian people. They're like, there's only one God. There can't be any Greek gods out there. You guys, it's only myths. We, we don't believe that it actually happened. It's just stuff that you tell kids as a story or something. And obviously, the Greeks back then, they believed that sort of thing because, well, that was their religion back then. They didn't know anything about Jesus and all that. They just assumed that they got stuff from gods like Zeus, the god of thunder, all of these different kinds of gods that I don't know them all off by heart. Forgive me. I don't really read into that as much. And yeah, thank you. I gotta say though, thank you, Terry, for this topic because it definitely does seem to have got everybody talking about the topic. And yeah, it was a good choice. I know when you suggested it to me, you suggested Zeppelins as a single, but well, evidently Zeppelins did come around via balloons because evidently a Zeppelin is just a big non-rigid balloon ship and carried either people or just carried weapons to bomb on top of others, which is lovely to think. But it was the thing that you had in World War One to available to you, and it's not going to be super fast, but it has motors on it. It's not as fast as like in World War Two when you had them super bomber things with the Luftwaffe and the RAF and all the other bombing people. Thank you, Terry. I do my very best to please everybody. I get this information the best I can. If I've missed anything, you can add your own bits in. I'm sorry if I've missed some things. I know Anna, you told me that there was something happening in America, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what. I know it was important to you, but I'm sorry I didn't mention it, but maybe a chance for you to fill in the gaps for me here. I don't know much. I don't know much about the American holidays and stuff, but there is something that I could say was like we have something like the Red Arrows, and that's a British thing that we have. They do loads of air acrobatics and stuff like that, which I always think is pretty cool, especially when they throw out that red powder or juice or whatever it is. Either way, it leaves a trail behind, and they do it in the United Kingdom style because they've got ones that have red lev powder come out, white powder, and then the blue powder, which you have the US Air Force Thunderbirds and the US Army Golden Knights. Right, okay, fair enough. So we're kind of on similar areas, I suppose, but you were doing your US version, but all respect to them who are willing to go up and do stuff like that, because it's a good memory for people to remember what some of them had to go through, because some of them aren't with us anymore, but they were willing to sacrifice their lives going up in them planes, working out how to use the planes, because gotta say, it's probably gonna take you a little while to learn how to fly one of those planes. You always forgot the Navy Blue Angels as well. All right, okay. They've obviously got to be important, but the Navy isn't that on the water. But I suppose they're good to remember, all of them, because as a collective, they all kind of work together. They don't work as well if you lose the other one. I mean, they all work singularly, but you put all of them together, they're very dangerous, especially in wartime. Although you highlighted the aviation museums in the UK, there are some excellent ones in the US. The Air and Space Museum at the Smithsonian and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, most well known. I was going to mention the Smithsonian because they actually have that noted down, because the Smithsonian Institution, because from the guy called James Smithsonian, or Smithson, is it? But he created the Smithsonian Institution in 1846. So a lot of things are put in there. As you've said, it's a museum as well. So that's good. You've got loads of like copies or replicas of the planes and such. Usually really good replicas as well. They put some effort into it, of course. With it being a replica, it probably won't fly. Or else the people in the museum might be a little bit shocked occasionally, especially if it starts flying in the middle of the building. But let's hope that don't happen. Please. That could be dangerous. But it's good that you find loads of things in museums nowadays, isn't it? We've also got all this modern stuff now. Everything is now computers and stuff. You've got all these unmanned aerial vehicles, the UAV, or as most people know them now as drones. Them ones that don't need people anymore. You just need to be on the ground with the remote control and just play it like a video game now, and just let them do their flying. Don't need to be on there. Unfortunately, nowadays they're used in warfare. In a way, it's a bit disappointing because there's no men behind it showing how it works. You just have to have a remote control. Obviously, none of us want any wars happening, but I feel that the real men in the planes were back around that time. They were willing to sacrifice themselves for the country. I don't want them to do it, but it's just something that ended up doing. But at least we now have mostly civil aviation now. Well, mentioned we do a lot more commercial, and it's good for people to have the commercial flight because they can go over to other countries safely. Because it was mostly brought in because of after World War, when they were only using the airplanes for military purposes. When the World War finally finished, they made bigger companies, and then we just thought, well, they'll take some profit from it. We'll take some profit by sending people to other countries for a trip or tour around another country. And that's perfectly fine for people to do that. Sorry, why did the librarian get kicked off the plane? Because it was overbooked. Oh, no. You did not do that, did you? You did not do that. At IVM Duxford, there is a U-2 spy plane that is similar to the one flown by Gary Powers back in the 1960s by the Soviets. All right, cool. So there was a Soviet Union plane. Oh, well, sure, but I think every country has their own form of air force nowadays. It's just you don't know what the names of them all are, apart from the ones that are local to us. Oh, we also have recreational stuff as well. You can also sporty as well because you can have plane racing, just aerial races and stuff, little competitions as well. Oh, you can for recreation. You can also do parachute jumping. Again, we could thank Leonardo da Vinci for inventing a version of the parachute, which does now have a backpack, and you can jump out, pull the ripcord. But it's always got a reserve because I don't know if they always had that when with the earlier parachutes. I don't know if they had a reserve pull tab. I don't plan on jumping out of a plane to find out though. Mowley. We had a drone over the CWM taking infrared photos to find the small fires. Wow. It's amazing how we are now used to drones. We are so used to it now. We are so used to having drones around. Yeah, I do wonder if people even still know how to fly a plane, but we've got people like Jana who work at Jana and Sam, who's not here tonight, but they both work at Rolls-Royce, and they obviously do a lot with the plane engines and jet engines and all that. So we respect them for going through all that to build them because the jet engines are massive for what I could get there. No, Jana, no. I'm too scared of heights for that sort of thing. Especially me plummeting towards the ground probably wouldn't do me very good. Yeah, well, drones can help, yes. It's a double-edged sword. Drones can help, but some people abuse that power. Philima. That should have read shot down by Soviets but was flown by Gary Powers America while on a spy mission over the USSR at that time. Okay, don't worry, I'm not grading you. You know a little bit more about it than I do, it seems. One last joke. What do you call a movie where pilots fight to take off? The Hunger Games. Oh, my. CWM equals Valley. Okay, right. Love knowing that British Airways uses Rolls-Royce. Yeah. Well, Rolls-Royce is definitely a big part of, well, it's a big part of where I live. It's okay, Chris. The ground will stop you. Oh, yeah, thanks. Thanks. Well, that would just mean you'd get no more of these live streams. Some people might find that a blessing, but I'm sticking around. Funnily enough, next month we're actually doing the history of Derby, or at least going to try and see what Derby was like in the past years. Going around Derby. I think I've sort of owed people that for a few months now, and figure somebody suggested it to me. I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. I'll see what I can find about Derby. It's amazing that you live in a place, but you don't bother to research the place because it's kind of, you know where everything is, but you don't really take the time to actually look at what you've got. I mean, obviously, we have a Rolls-Royce engine itself in the silk mill that I'll be talking to you more about, but there's a little bit of a preview at that, but there is a big Rolls-Royce engine hanging inside that silk mill, and as I say, the silk mill is such a great place, and apparently that's got such a rich history, which hopefully I'll be able to tell you about. But Derby has a lot more history than I thought I'd ever thought. But yeah, well, we're still flying along at the moment. Still, well, we have 55 minutes. Blooming it. Time has flown. And I've really given it the big one again, haven't I? Oh, that's me all over in it. It's a Welsh word. Oh, I see this. So the CWM is Welsh. Okay, very good. You love the history of Derby for a variety of reasons, from Rolls-Royce, the silk industry, Derby pottery, Derbyshire Blue John, and the peaks among many subjects of interest. Yeah, well, I enjoy living in Derby, because, well, it's the only place I've ever known. But I feel like over the last few years, I feel like I've made such a great impact because of just being part of a church community. I never thought I'd ever do something like that, and all the stuff I'm doing to try and help others now as well, because I feel good when I help others out, because never realized how good it had felt. I mean, I've helped myself out, I've been helped out. I mean, Jana here is one of those who started me off on my journey, and I'm not finished yet. I'm not finished helping people. I'm going to keep helping out. I'm going to keep being silly on camera if that's what gets you happy. If it's just having a conversation with somebody while I'm at the food bank or at the other services that I do, if just a simple conversation with somebody's good enough usually, and I enjoy myself doing it. I enjoy getting it. Thank you. Yeah, I do my best at trying to be a good person. I'm gonna make mistakes. I am human. I'm gonna make mistakes, and I probably didn't cover everything about aviation tonight, but I know I've had fun doing it. I've had fun, and those of you who are here, hopefully you're having fun too. Oh, another joke of you. Do you need that? Oh God. Oh, you're saying that's about the floor, isn't it? You know, Chris comes to a full ground stop when he lands. Will you stop killing me here? I feel you are aware I am here, you know. You're making me flat on the ground. I'll be a blooming pancake by the end of this. Helping others should be a big part of everyone's life. Not a matter of how big or small or small the effort. Thank you, Mowley. Yeah, it's so much different that I've been getting out and about more. Take the late Pope Francis as a prime example. He cared for those who were poor, marginalised, and in need. Yeah. I'm not trying to put you in pancakes. No. And God bless the Pope. He did a lot. He did a lot for everybody. I didn't know much about it because I don't look in the Catholic and I don't look into that. But I respect people when I hear about his life. He's done some great things for people. If you go back into history, the Pope had a lot more power back then, but obviously they still have power and they still know how to preach the word. It's just, yeah. Watched Pope Francis's funeral. He was wonderful to all, not just Catholics. Well, yeah, everybody's great to everybody because you're meant to be gracious. Whether if you are part of a religion of some kind, you are meant to be gracious because you are meant to be the grace of your God. Meant to give out your love because that's what we're meant to do. We're meant to share our love with everybody. That's simply put, anyway. But if you love, your whoever you love your God, then that's the important thing about it. And I had to take him on board because, well, clearly I felt like nothing. I felt like nothing before I got pulled along to church. Not literally. I got it. I got the seed planted and it grew fairly quickly for me, it seems. You wouldn't believe it's been 2 years already, or at least 18 months or so since I've been coming to church and I'm just looking at all the stuff. So remember Pastor Andy was like, feels like you've been here for about 5 years. It's like, no, honestly, it's only been just over a year. Why was I terrible? Why was I terrible before? I just enjoy doing this. I've always enjoyed rambling on camera. I guess I've just gotten better at it over the year. And you guys, I feel like I'm doing some overtime here because we've gone over the hour, and I think I should be saying goodbye to you. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. You've been amazing, guests. You've been nicely involved, and thank you guys for the plane puns. I'm sure you have so many more, but you can bring them with you next month, or when we've done the live stream. Those of you who can talk to me out, you can tell me your plane puns privately if you like. Blooming heck, that was quite a mouth. Plain plum privately. No. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I will see you next month. We're talking Derby, the history of Derby, and I will see you then. Brilliant, wonderful. Yep. See you guys.